And earlier I spoke to Mahfuz Anam. He is Bangladesh's senior most journalist, editor of the Daily Star. And I began by asking him that in India, sir, there are concerns about targeted attacks on Hindu shrines, worries that the minority community, minority Hindus are being targeted in some parts. Can you allay those fears? Do you believe that there is no question of any group being allowed to target Hindus under the pretext of what's been happening on the street to settle scores?
Okay, let me share that the concern has been with us also. I, as an editor, we have written very strongly about it. We have tried to, reach out to others. The NGOs have reached out. And so, yes, there were some instances which shouldn't have happened. We are very concerned about it, but it is definitely on the wane. And here, if I may, we have been following some of the social media, which is in India. I think it is. I will not say it is being very, very exaggerated, but I think the focus is being on some instances of killing, some instances of looting Hindu homes, but it is also true that Awami League leaders who have really held a supreme sway in their local areas, they have also been targeted. But all of this is very unfortunate. I would like to say that it is really not under control fully, but it is on the wane. And I would like to, through you, assure the people of India, the journalists of India, that things are coming under control. We are also very conscious that minorities should not be target, and I think we are getting a grip on the situation.
You're saying the country is getting a grip on the situation, but who's really in charge? Is it the army which is in charge in a way? Is it the interim government headed by Mr. Yunus? Or will it be eventually the BNP, the opposition party? And where does all this leave the formerly ruling Awami League? Is Bangladesh still in an element of political confusion and, dare I say, a political vacuum, Mr. Anam?
No, please understand the situation. Mm-hmm. At the moment, if the law and order and the power of giving security to life and property is in the hands of the army, there has been some, chaotic situation among the police, who the students and the public really felt outraged about because of their firing. So there are these what should I say, unsteady areas, but the institution which is really now in the grip of at least security is the army.
But what happens then, as I said, to the Awami League? What happens to the targeted attacks we are seeing on Awami League politicians? Is that worrying, or is Awami League no longer a factor in this new Bangladesh that's emerging?
Of course, it will be a factor. It is a very old party. It has a very high tradition. But as it happens, there is a backlash on Awami League. They have been in power for the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. And as it happens in our part of the world, that when you are in power for a long time, you forget that you are answerable. What Awami League actually did, much to their great mistake, is the manipulation of the elections. 2014, 2018, and 2020, early 2024. Mm-hmm. These elections have been totally manipulated, which we in the newspaper wrote endless editorials, articles. But since they were able to manage the situation, they thought that that's the way to go. One election after another, they managed 3. But the internal resentment within the public, imagine yourself as a voter, you have not been able to vote in 3 consecutive elections. This Awami League totally underestimated. And also, I must say that Awami League is a party that has a 75-year tradition. It has been involved with most of our democratic movements. It was the leading party in 1971, our liberation movement. How that party would detach themselves from the people and so severely, so completely, is a very interesting question for political scientists to perhaps do research on.
I want to ask you in conclusion something that we've been hearing in this country as well, Mr. Anam, that is this really a popular revolt or has it been fomented from the outside? There has been talk of, dare I say at times, a US hand, a Chinese hand, even an ISI hand. Are you telling me all that has happened in the last fortnight has been purely internal, spontaneous and organic?
It has been purely internal, organic, spontaneous, and it would not have come to this if the Awami League government had been a little more mature, little more circumspect, a little more, not much, a little more tolerant. I mean, just to give you one figure, within a matter of just about a week, more than 200 citizens, out of which 50 students, were shot on the streets of Dhaka. Now imagine a history of the whole subcontinent. Did you ever hear of 200 people being killed through police firing within a matter of 7 days? I really cannot still comprehend what got into the government's mind, what got into Sheikh Hasina's mind. We had our language movement in which only 4 people were killed in 1952. We had a anti-Ayub movement in 1969 when only 1 student was killed in the street of Dhaka. I mean, there were other killings on and off, but never. So then this number strike a chord, and it happened day after day for 7 days. So you have a killing on day 1, stop it on day 2. You have a killing on day 2, stop it on day 3. So I tell you, I'm a very old journalist. I'm running this paper for 33 years, and believe me, I could never comprehend on this absolute mindless violence with which the demonstrations had been handled. And I feel that if it was handled in a matured way, we may not have had such a dramatic and drastic consequences. But my last point about whether there is a Chinese or this and that, here I'd like to appeal to my Indian journalist friends that we are a country of 70 million people. We have a middle class of 30 million. I mean, please do not always think that we are either pushed by Pakistan on one side, that's why we do something. Another day, India pushes us on another side, or Chinese pushing us. Do give us the dignity of a people, citizens of a sovereign country. It has now been 53 years we have been independent. We have learned something. And we are not always lackeys of this country or that country. We love Bangladesh and we will build it.
I appreciate you joining us, Mahfuz Anam, a voice of sobriety amidst all the noise. I know what you've gone through personally in Bangladesh in recent times. Thank you so much for joining me.